now we'll take a look at the clip.
I don't know who. It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No,
Here.
Carroll.
Oh, is that?
The person you just pointed to was E. Jean Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
Point, your wife.
And the woman on the right is your then wife.
I don't know.
Ivana?
This was the picture.
Ivana.
I assume that's John Johnson. Is that
That's Carroll.
Carroll? Because it's very blurry.
So he initially identifies E. Jean Carroll as Marla Maples, his second wife. How much do you think that hurt him, Sara?
I think it hurt him incredibly because, look, it's disingenuous. First of all, there's nothing blurry about that picture,
Right.
no matter what lens you're looking at it in. And also, you know, she's ugly, I wouldn't touch her, and all those things that he said that were ridiculous, but looks so much like his wife that, you know, it's somebody he would marry.
Her. Yeah, yeah. All right, let me go very quickly to Marc. How do you think that this not guilty verdict of liability will impact him in his third run for the White House?
Yeah, that's one of the big questions with Donald Trump, as we constantly say, while this is unprecedented, right? You know, he got indicted in a case out of New York. There's some other criminal matters hanging over him or potential indictments. Now this, I don't remember seeing this with a major party candidate for president. That having been said, Donald Trump has a pretty iron grip on a certain portion of the base of the Republican Party, and they generally believe him no matter what, and they see any sort of criminal or legal problems against him as an unfair political attack, which is what he talks about.
Right.
But that's in a Republican primary. In a general election, though, assuming he makes it out of the primary, one of the problems that has haunted Donald Trump is this sense among a lot of those swing voters, it's not a lot, but it's enough to swing an election, that they believe he's too exhausting, there are too many problems, there's too much smoke, there must be fire. And so this can be piled on top of that and certainly could be problematic. Now, that's just kind of speculation and informed speculation just based on what we've seen play out with Donald Trump in the past, including the 2020 election, and certainly in this current primary, in this current election cycle, where Democrats are talking about it. Like, look, this is going to be a problematic candidate, and some Republicans are privately talking about that as well, this being a general election liability.
Right. Marc, we saw that after he was indicted on 34 felony counts, his support actually went up. His poll numbers went up. He solidified his support, and his lead over Ron DeSantis expanded his lead over DeSantis.
That's true. Now, there are some problems with that New York case, which even some liberal media, or better said, liberal legal scholars will discuss. So we'll see how that plays out. But there's just a number of these things that over time are just going to pile up and pile up on each other. Now, I doubt any of his Republican primary opponents are going to be bringing this stuff up. However, it's a pretty good bet that this is going to come around full circle or become a really big issue in a general election if Donald Trump makes it out of the primary.
And does it matter, Marc, that Carroll is now just one of dozens of women who have accused Trump of sexual misconduct? When you talk about it starting to pile up, does it make an impact, or is it just a New York story and a New York jury that didn't vote for him, you know, in the last presidential election? So it's all, as he calls it right now today, he calls it the greatest witch hunt of all time and, quote unquote, a disgrace.
Well, I don't know. That would probably, you know, take a lot of time and a lot of study. But what I can say is that once you start to kind of add these things together, it just becomes a very large weight, a very large burden for Donald Trump to carry. Now, if there's any candidate who's been successful at carrying the burden of lots of controversies, it's Donald Trump. However, as we saw in 2020, he wasn't able to carry it across the finish line. This is a different election. It's a different electorate. There's a lot more. It's a much different cycle than we faced in the past. But also, again, we've just never seen a major party candidate who's under indictment in one place, under criminal investigation in at least two other places, and then just had a finding of liability that he sexually assaulted someone and defamed them. It's just uncharted waters, and I guess that's one of the more common things we say these days.
Yeah, you can say that again. Okay, very quickly, Mitchell. One of the things that Trump's lawyer said he wants to appeal on is the fact that that Access Hollywood tape was allowed to be admitted into the trial. Does he have any standing there for appeal?
Well, he can bring the claim, but I can't imagine it being successful. Judge Lewis Kaplan faithfully applied Federal Rule of Evidence 415, which was specifically enacted in order to allow past sexual assaults to come into evidence in cases alleging new sexual assaults.
A pattern of behavior.
That was not a past sexual assault on that tape. That was disparaging women, grab them by whatever, but that's certainly evidence of misogyny, but it's not evidence that the person is going around raping women. So I actually had a problem with that ruling.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.